I'd like to welcome all of you today as we gather to begin a new series that we are piloting on various forms of social media. And it deals with something that Robyn and I had discussed way back last spring about maybe doing a series where we could present to people the little way of St. Therese, where we then would ask them to try different activities in their home with their family. And one of the things that you introduced me to was this book, 52 Sundays. And just very briefly tell me about this book.
So 52 Sundays, there's 52 Sundays in a year, and it's broken out into each week of the year. And then this includes the Sunday Gospel, which we hear you proclaim at Mass each weekend. And then it has an activity that we can do in a little way to grow our faith in our home. And then some prayers and other fun facts and some information about some saints each week too.
And so people, if they want that, they can order this online if they want to own it for themselves in their own home. And they can also access it online too.
They sure can.
So this 52 Sundays, and we'll be starting this new series. And later in this segment, you'll see us talk about how to do something special as we talk about the bread of life. One of the other things that we are going to be doing on this series is updating you on current parish activities, our building project, things that we're doing, events that we're sponsoring, youth activities, a whole series of things that we're trying here at St. Therese. So not only are we going to give you suggestions on how to implement some of these things in your home, but also what to look forward to here and other special programming. This is a pilot today, but it is a forerunner of what we're going to be doing on a weekly basis. And so we invite you to be looking forward in September as we launch the weekly series so that you are able to access the different topics we'll be dealing with. Eating is one of the most important things that we do as human beings. If we don't eat properly, we certainly don't grow and develop as we should. And if we don't eat long enough, we will die. Jesus understood the importance of eating, and he communicated that understanding to his disciples, not only about physically eating, the importance of that, but also the importance about being spiritually fed as well. That's why he gave us his body and blood to eat. He told us in very clear terms that when a priest or a bishop would celebrate the Mass and say, "This is my body and this is my blood," over the bread and wine, that they no longer remained just bread and wine, but they would become Jesus Christ's body. He gave this gift to his disciples on Holy Thursday at the Last Supper. The entire 6th chapter of St. John's Gospel is about Christ's explanation to us and to the people of his time about the great gift that he would give us in the Holy Eucharist. He described himself as being the bread of life. He described his body as being true food and his blood true drink. And that if we wanted life within ourselves, we would eat his body and drink his blood. So based on this, we have an exercise today that we would like to share with you, where we not only talk about the bread of life, which I encourage you to do with your families, but also about the importance of sharing earthly food with them as well. Well, Robyn, I really appreciate your being here this afternoon. I see you have a basket of some delicious looking bread sitting right in front of us. Tell me a little bit about that.
So this bread is a little way that we can connect the gospel that we'll hear at Mass on Sunday back to our home, back to our family, and something we can bake together and enjoy together and bring that connection from church into our home.
Okay, so a thought occurs to me. You're talking about baking bread. Most people don't know how to bake bread anymore. So, how would you bake bread if you didn't know how to do it?
So a way that we can bake the bread in a more simpler way in today's world is we can just stop by the grocery store and in the frozen food section and pick up frozen bread dough, which is super easy to make and something anybody can do. And so we can do that together as a family and we can enjoy the process of it. We can watch it baking through the oven door. We can fill our kitchen with the smell of that baked bread that's being baked at that time, bringing the family together for that experience. And then eventually, and we're going to break the bread together as a family and enjoy that together.
I get the idea of how we bake the bread and how we enjoy the smells and that type of thing. But what is so important about breaking bread together?
I think anytime we can enjoy food together as a family and that satisfies our hunger that way is just such a great thing.
So we're together, and not only are we enjoying the bread itself and eating, but there's an element of faith in that too. Talk a little bit about that.
I would say the faith, just connecting. Anytime we can connect food to our faith or even to scripture is just so powerful that we make that connection.
So we're going to be talking in the scriptures about the bread of life, Christ telling us that he's the bread of life. So what does that imply? What does that imply for us in terms of how we as Catholics approach the Eucharist?
That makes me think of like when we're at home and waiting for the bread to be made, we're longing for that.
So there's a longing in our hearts.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, we talked about how we are going to come together and enjoy this bread together, but there's always got to be a lesson in it. What's the one lesson you'd like your family to learn?
Yeah. What I hope my family would take from this is when we're doing something different and special, this is not just sandwich bread. We made this something very different and special. And I hope that the connection that they and myself will even remember is that when we go to receive the Eucharist, it's not just bread, it's something extremely special. So I hope my family will get that.
Well, I think we've come a good ways to make this happen by using this example. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Living the Little Way, and I encourage you this week to do something of importance with your family that centers around sharing food with each other. Perhaps do as we did in this episode, bake some bread, sit down, and have a good time with one another.